So, René Lacarte, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It is an honor to have you. What a great story. We have incredible founders like you that come on the podcast and talk about, in very humble terms, how you had an idea, you brought it to life, and then a few years later, now you're a multi-billion-dollar organization. Um, I'm I'm incredibly inspired by your story because you started in very similar terms, like an idea to solve a pain point, right? Would love to kind of go back to your Genesis story. Like, where did the idea for Bill come about? What inspired you? And let's go from there.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. It's always good to be here. So, I think the genesis really comes back to just experiencing life. I grew up in and around small businesses. My parents and grandparents each had, north of half a dozen businesses, all of them since the 60s, serving SMBs. And so I had worked in accounting at Price Waterhouse, so I was pretty comfortable with the language of business, which is accounting. I moved into working for my parents' payroll company, writing code and developing operational capabilities for kind of like the first online payroll company out there, honestly. My dad had started in the 80s using 2400 baud modems to actually, transfer payroll files. Anyways, so I did that, and then I worked at Intuit, where I got to really learn the excellence of product management and the focus on customer orientation. And then I started a company called PayCycle. We were the kind of the first, and at the time when we sold, the largest online payroll company in the country. And we sold that to Intuit in 2009. But in 2006, I left the day-to-day of PayCycle to start Bill. And it was because when I was running PayCycle, I felt this pain point. And this pain point was, it was really having to walk around the office, collect invoices, talk to employees, understand whether invoices, should be paid or not. Were we happy with the work? Understanding the bills that we were sending out, whether they were getting paid by our partners or not, understanding the reconciliation across all the transactions. And I realized that everything I was doing was the same way my parents and grandparents had done it. It was all paper-based, filing cabinets, checks being sent, checks being reconciled, in a return envelope with the bank statement. Like, all these things were just painful. Sticky notes all over the place, files missing from the filing cabinet, not filed appropriately. And that pain point helped me really understand that there was something that technology could do. So this was, probably 2001, 2002, and we'd started this online payroll company. And the reason we started it was to focus on software delivery, meaning that, in the software world of Intuit at the time, there was a release once a year. And so you had to do everything. It was very rigorous product management, but everything depended on getting that right once a year. And the beauty of the web, right? If you think about 1999, 2000, it was like, oh, I mean, I can release software any day of the week, and I can actually improve it any day of the week. Like, that's super powerful as a developer. And so we were focused on that. But what I realized in 2001, it wasn't the software that was powerful, it was the data. And if you think about this 20 years later, right, 24 years later now, data is the essence of what's actually powering the AI, evolution, and what's powered everything in the cloud. And so I think in that 2003, 4 window, I realized that I could solve all those pain points that my parents and grandparents had that I was having, because the data could be centralized and be in the cloud, and I could leverage that across, the customer experience to be able to make their experiences better. And so that was the genesis. It was something I started noodling, at night. And when I couldn't stop noodling it, that's when I decided to leave the day-to-day of PayCycle and start the next one, which is Bill.